This might be one of my biggest aha moments I've ever had. So much of the guilt I've carried as a perfectionist has been regarding work and missing important moments with my kids. I would have totally withered when I recently missed my kid's first day of school because of work. I would have called myself a bad mom and lamented to my family about how awful I felt. But because of you, CLG, not only did I not carry any guilt, but my kids were actually cheering me on. If you are ready to burn bright instead of burning out, to lead without losing yourself, and to enjoy the life you have worked so hard to create, then keep listening. I'm your host, America's leader on rewiring perfectionism, CLG, and this is Perfectionism Rewired, the podcast. Welcome to Perfectionism Rewired. Today we are rewiring guilt. By listening to this episode, you're going to know exactly how to stop feeling guilty. I'm handing you the perfectionist playbook for guilt, so that you begin to dissolve the guilt in your life and take charge. Guilt has such a poisonous impact on our families, our career, and our relationships. One of the reasons why I am so emphatic about helping successful type A high achievers like you to get out of their own way is because when you are feeling guilty, it stops you not only from growing, but it stops you from having the impact on the world that you want to have. Like the people that I coach, they are like you. They are smart, they are intelligent, they have achieved a lot of success in their life. But they also know that they're continuing to get into their own way because of their perfectionistic tendencies. And like their life is awesome on the outside, but they are not feeling it on the inside. And feeling guilty is a very common experience for high achieving, successful perfectionists. And I want to help you quit fighting against yourself and getting in your own way. And one of the ways that I can do that is by rewiring guilt and giving you the tools so that you know how to stop feeling guilty. And not in the way of intellectualizing it, like guilt is a pointless emotion. I don't know why I feel it. Any of those like platitudes, like just stop it. Oh, well, just don't feel guilty about it. Just let it go. Just power through. Because I don't think that's helpful. And that's why I have an entire podcast and a whole coaching program dedicated to you quit fighting against yourself and getting out of your own way. What we're going to do in this podcast is understand the why. Like, why is guilt showing up for you? Why are you feeling guilty about like leaving your kids on a work trip? What is the cost of guilt, not only now, but like long term? And also really understand why the approach that you have taken so far to stop feeling guilty, why that hasn't worked, and what you actually need to do instead. So let's get into it. Perfectionism Optimized, that's my one-on-one coaching program. Perfectionism Optimized, client Nicole texted me this week. She said, "This might be one of my biggest aha moments I've ever had. So much of the guilt I've carried as a perfectionist has been regarding work and missing important moments with my kids. Without your coaching," so I'll say for the podcast, without CLG's coaching, I would have totally withered when I recently missed my kid's first day of school because of work. I would have called myself a bad mom and lamented to my family about how awful I felt. But because of you, CLG, not only did I not carry any guilt, but my kids were actually cheering me on. If you want to be able to be like Nicole and have your family and kids cheer you on instead of desperately missing you and asking how many sleeps it is until you come home, then listen to this episode. Before I share with you the play-by-play, if you are wanting to get coached by me, then I want to invite you to consider becoming a client inside of my private one-on-one coaching program, Perfectionism Optimized. If you haven't already, you can go to CourtneyLiveGavin.com/optimized to find out more and inquire today. So, Nicole, I'm using the example of leaving your kids and feeling guilty because that is a flavor of guilt that is widely accepted in our culture these days. Like, oh yeah, mom guilt, dad guilt, etc. If you are experiencing that type of guilt, you might feel is the hardest one to budge. But it's not. It's actually not. Okay, so let's get into it. When you look up the definition of guilt, the part that stood out to me and that is going to start to give you that aha moment like Nicole had is that guilt happens when you believe you have compromised a value or violated your own moral standard. Moral standard, that sounds so like biblical. So instead of moral standard, I want you to think about it as like a rule, an ingrained, like deep rule that you have adopted, you live by. What most of us don't even think about is that we have adopted values and rules to live by you didn't consciously choose for yourself. Or maybe you chose them when you were 6, but now you're 46 and it's not working for you anymore. Using the example of Perfectionism Optimized client Nicole, when we looked at the undercover rules, her brain unintentionally thought that she was violating. There was this rule, and by the way, a tool that I have for private one-on-one clients inside of Perfectionism Optimized is Rule Book Revelation. It's a comprehensive tool I have created that reveals the unconscious rules and moral standards that you are operating under. So you get to see which ones you actually want to keep and which ones that you want to toss. Nicole did her rule book revelation, and an undercover rule that she had was time spent equals the quality of her relationships. But she didn't actually want that to be a rule anymore. When you look at your friendships, like friends that you had when you were in high school or college, you saw them every day. But as you get older, you spend less time with them. The question that I posed to Nicole and that I'm giving you to ask yourself is, for the people in your life that you love, that you spend less time with them now than you did when you were growing up or 10 years ago, does that mean that you love them any less? The answer is no. It doesn't mean that you love them any less. When you realize like, oh, that might have been a rule that I adopted when I was 6, but now that I'm 46, like for Nicole, she said, that's no longer working for me. The guilt for her was partially because of this rule that she had, where she was believing that the time that she spent equals the quality of her relationship. She was confusing quantity for quality. That is the rule part of guilt with Nicole. We solved that. For context, when Nicole started coaching with me, she would FaceTime her kids saying, I'm missing you so much. I'll be home in 3 sleeps. She was inviting her children into sadness and subconsciously showing them that like work equals bad. Working takes me away from you kids, which creates this dynamic of your children being resentful to your job. What we discovered through coaching is that Nicole was asking her kids to hold her own guilt because she didn't want to hold it. When we looked at the facts, because we always step into the truth booth, and I believe that truth is the only place where progress comes from. Like the truth was, her family wasn't mad that she was going away for a couple days. Her family was proud of her for pursuing her dreams. Her family is proud that her income allows them to do all of the things that they enjoy. What I invited her to do as an experiment is, what if you could celebrate your time away and not shame it? What if being away was a good experience instead of one that was laced with guilt? She was open to that. What we did is we found ways to celebrate working. And all of the exact ways are inside of the private client podcast for this week. Surrounding yourself with constant messaging and support is super helpful when you are rewiring your perfectionism. And it is the reason why there is a private podcast for you when you become a one-on-one private client. That's called Perfectionist Solutions private podcast. So if you are a current client that's listening to this, or you are a soon to be client who's listening to this because you're like, oh my goodness, I want to hire CLG ASAP, then you will be able to listen to it. One of the tools Nicole used was at Disneyland with her kids. While they were waiting in line, she said, hey, remember when I missed your talent show because I was at the New York Stock Exchange opening for the company that I work at? She said, that is making this moment possible for us right here. You know how we're staying at the Disneyland Yosemite Hotel and how we had breakfast with Mickey and Minnie? Mommy leaving on those work trips, those are connected. If you value integrity, then you want to use every opportunity of giving your best and doing your best and have them recognize that it's connected. Just like what Nicole was doing and being very deliberate about giving her kids that. Changing the way that you talk about your work will impact the way that your kids think and feel about you working and being away. If you continue to say it's the worst thing ever and I feel so guilty and this job is taking mom away from you. When I asked Nicole what are the values that she wanted to instill, in her children, resentment and guilt were not any of them. And how she was able to change this dynamic in her family was how she was talking about it with her kids, because kids, like all humans, have these things called mirror neurons, and they reflect back to you the emotions and the thoughts that you are having. And so instead of making it this big bad thing of, I'm going to be gone for your first day of school and this is going to impact you for the rest of your life. I'm a terrible mom. I promise to call you every single day and get you a gift for every day I'm gone. What I helped her with through coaching, instead of taking that route, it was like, hey, mommy has a great opportunity to really go shine her light and to meet some incredible people. Let me show you on a map of the world where I'm going. Isn't this so awesome? I'm going to be doing this. And it made it so that her work and going away was something that she invited her family into, and it gave them something else to celebrate. It gave them something else to look forward to. When you are able to do this for yourself, you can also find the freedom that perfectionism optimized clients like Nicole have found. To recap, the top 4 tools that Nicole used to go from feeling so guilty about being away from her family to missing her kids' first day of school and having it be a moment to celebrate are: 1, looking at the rules she was unintentionally following. One of them was confusing quantity of time spent to the quality of her relationship with her children. Tool number 2, getting really clear on the values that she wants for her kids to have, and seeing how guilt, especially guilt around working, guilt around pursuing her own profession and what she loves, was actually in conflict. The third tool Nicole used is inviting your family into her work and making it something to celebrate. No longer making it, when she FaceTimed them, a sad and drab experience. The fourth tool is building her own emotional agility. For Nicole, she was putting that guilt onto her kids to carry, instead of her metabolizing it herself and realizing like, okay, I'm feeling guilty right now, tending to that guilt and changing the emotional experience that she was having with going on business trips, so that guilt was not something that she was seeding into her family, and that she was stopping the poison from penetrating anyone else that is inside of her orbit. The last message that Nicole wanted me to share with all of you is, she said, I know as a perfectionist that I love to feel self-sufficient and independent. I never want to bother anyone. And I believed for way too long that I could figure it out on my own. Take it from me, get yourself that support instead of just trying hard and trying to be better. I did that for way too long. It doesn't work. Just go get yourself some proper support from CLG. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing your story so openly and letting all of us benefit from your own growth. Listen up. Taking charge of your perfectionism is so much easier than you have been led to believe. Whether you want to stop playing out worst case scenarios in your head or be joyfully present, ambitious again, you don't need more rigid rules, guesswork, or hard work in perfectionism recovery. You need a framework that helps you understand and, most importantly, rewire your perfectionistic habits from the inside out. It starts inside of Perfectionism Optimized. Besides the obvious mental health and wellness benefits, rewiring your perfectionism is the fastest way to figure out what's really underneath your perfectionistic patterns. This radically different, proven, proprietary approach helps you succeed by dropping the contempt and judgment that blocks change. Discover how to trust yourself, take control of your world, and feel truly empowered to own your perfectionism instead of being owned by it. Head on over to CourtneyLoveGavin.com and start your transformation today.